What the fuck? I'm just about done with Warner Brothers. Like, as if totally ruining Snyder's work in Justice League wasn't bad enough. As if totally changing David Ayer's work in Suicide Squad wasn't bad enough. As if totally blowing off the fans and acting like, they're crazy for thinking the Snyder Cut exists. As if that weren't bad enough. As if it weren't bad enough that they basically swept under the rug all the messed up stuff that Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon were doing during the whole Justice League thing. As if all that weren't bad enough. Now they're doing this. And yeah, not to mention, just earlier this week, frickin' Warner Brothers released a 4K trailer for Justice League. Not Zack Snyder's Justice League, the theatrical Justice League, aka Justice League. Like, why? Like, the timing's impeccable. Like, it feels like just like a middle finger to the fans releasing that trailer, But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the fact that apparently Warner Brothers is making a movie with Black Superman, and not one of the actual Black Supermen from the comics. No. They're race swapping Clark Kent, probably. But before we get into all that, here's a little bit of backstory. So, for the last few years now, there have been rumors that Warner Brothers was going to make a new Superman movie with with Michael B. Jordan. A lot of people were saying Michael B. Jordan was going to be the new Superman. That's been going on for the last 4 years at least, and but then nothing really came of it. And then the Snyder Cut happened. People were like, oh, maybe they're going to stick with Henry Cavill as Superman. But a couple months ago, which we actually covered on our podcast, Warner Brothers is officially moving forward with that movie, apparently with J.J. Abrams producing and Ta-Nehisi Coates writing, which at this point, Warner Brothers is just kind of trying to copy Marvel, at least the higher ups, higher up execs. Like, that's why they changed Justice League so much, and now, then they hired James Gunn, who was, a big addition to the MCU with the Guardians movies. And now they're hiring Ta-Nehisi Coates, who already wrote some of the Marvel comics, which, kind of the only reason you really hire Ta-Nehisi Coates is to write political stuff about critical race theory, so expect this movie to be like that. But anyway, so Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing this movie, J.J. Abrams is producing, and the Hollywood Reporter just came out with an article today, at least Wednesday, which is when I'm filming this. They came out with this article today talking about how Warner Brothers is looking for a director for this movie. They're like totally moving forward with it, but a lot of people thought that the lead, we already knew the lead was going to be black. A lot of people thought they were going to use the actually established black Superman in the comics, like from alternate universes. Like there's Val Zod, and then there's Calvin Ellis, who is actually Superman, but also the president, I believe, in Earth 2. I could be wrong. It might have been in a different Earth, but anyway. But no, according to this article, it seems like Ta-Nehisi Coates is writing a story, basically rewriting Kal-El's story as a black man, I guess. So, let me just read you this really quick quote from the article. This is like the most important part of the article. The rest is just kind of all over the place. But here we go. The Superman film appears to be moving on to its own track and won't be part of the universe as of now. So that is a promising thing. A lot of people haven't been really reporting on that, but this article says it's probably going to be like in its own universe, kind of like the Batman. So this kind of takes a little bit of the edge off, but it's still... there's still a lot of stuff wrong with this. So sources tell THR, the Hollywood Reporter, that Coates is crafting a Kal-El in the vein of the original Superman comics. See, Kal-El as in Kal-El as in Clark Kent. In the vein of the original Superman comics, and will have the protagonist hail from Krypton and come to Earth. Which original Superman comics? Are we talking about the 1940s? Or, late 30s, 40s? Like, which original comics are we talking about? There's been, over 75 years of Superman comics. Kind of, it's kind of a decent distinction. While the story is currently being crafted and many details could change, one option under consideration is for the film to be a 20th century period piece, which Why? Nobody wants this. Nobody freaking wants this. Now, a lot of people have been reporting that it will 100% will be a 20th century period piece, according to this. That's just one of the options they're considering. This article continues to go on, and this is pretty laughable. Diversity and representation remain key drivers of the DC universe moving forward. Warner's is developing a Latino Blue Beetle movie with Angel Manuel Soto attached to direct, and HBO Max is casting for a gay Green Lantern character for an upcoming series. I'm guessing Alan Scott. And the CW's Arrowverse is about to get its second black female superhero series with Ava DuVernay's Naomi. Just as Black Lightning is about to wrap up its final season, yada yada. So this is kind of a joke. I mean, obviously, yeah, they are doing this, but it definitely feels like an overcorrection. There's just been too many coincidences. But I guess let's jump into that. So, first of all, why? Like, this is like, put aside all the other stuff. Like, I'm sure this movie, the reason they want to make it, it's a 20th century period piece is because they want to set it in like the 40s or the 50s and, make it like, ooh, Superman's got to deal with, the height of the Jim Crow era or something, as if, we've never seen that before. It's not like we've seen that in an Umbrella Academy, Lovecraft Country, not to mention tons of others before that. Like, there's nothing wrong with those stories, but it's getting a little tired now. I'm sure Coates is going to put a lot of politics into it, because that's kind of like why you hire Ta-Nehisi Coates. He's not a fiction writer. Even in his, newer comics. I don't know much about the Black Panther ones, but the Captain America ones he's written, he gets very political, I'm guessing that's where the movie is going. But besides that, like, who even cares about that? Why are they making Kal-El black? And I that sounds bad, like, but no, that's not what I mean. I don't actually have a problem with race swapping for the most part. I used to when I was younger, because I was like a comic purist. It was got to be exactly the same. But there have been plenty of times where they have race swapped the characters. They've picked an actor of color to play a traditionally white character, and it's worked really well. And as long as they keep the essence of the character, it usually turns out pretty well. Like Will Smith as Deadshot, Journey Smollett as Black Canary, just to name like a couple. There's been several others too. That's not the issue here. It's the fact that there actually are black Superman characters, and they are ignoring them. This is basically the same as instead of, in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, instead of having Sam become Captain America, they forget Sam even exists, and they just reboot Captain America and make Steve Rogers black for some reason. Or if they rebooted Spider-Man, Peter Parker's black now, and they totally ignore Miles Morales' existence. Or, Miguel O'Hara, who is of Latino origin, something like that. There's countless others. It's honestly just kind of tokenizing at that point. It's not really, for diversity, because we already have characters that people specifically made for inclusion and diversity in the comics. And you're ignoring those characters and, brushing aside their, importance to basically just, make a character of a certain origin that they never were in the comics. It's just... It feels very much like pandering, especially considering everything Warner Brothers has been accused of lately and kind of blatantly has done. It feels like all this stuff that they're doing, they're leaning really hard into this diversity thing, like with the new Blue Beetle movie and with casting a Latinx actor as Supergirl and all this stuff. And now this, it seems like they're basically just trying to cover up their sins of the past, like with all the stuff Ray Fisher was talking about, it's just so hypocritical. Like, they'll lean into these movies and act like they're, such great people for making these movies with diverse directors and cast and everything. And then they will take an actual actor of color, Ray Fisher, who was trying to fight for integrity and justice, and they make it incredibly hard for him to get the investigation going he wanted. They never issued any sort of apology to him, at least nothing formally, and he hasn't said anything about it. And they kept on pretty much everybody that was accused of wrongdoing. It seems like they did eventually get a outside investigation going, but it took a lot of work and a lot of stonewalling. So they did all that. Not to mention, in the actual Snyder Cut, they cut out at least 3 characters of color. There's Ryan Choi. There is that single mom who Cyborg helps. and there's Iris West. There's 3, and then they significantly reduce the roles of others like Silas Stone and Cyborg himself. You know, that's like 4 characters, 5 characters right there characters of color that they totally just swept to the side. You know, like maybe it's racism, maybe it's not, but it looks pretty bad. You know, you got to say it looks pretty bad. So it's just pretty ironic that they're doing this now, and it's not really ironic. It's obvious what they're doing. You know, they're obviously trying to, you know, act like, ooh, we care about diversity, when they've obviously not been caring about that previously. So it seems like they're just kind of throwing up a facade here, and a lot of people are calling them out on their BS, and, you know, it's just so obvious, you know. If you really wanted to make a good, you know, black Superman movie, make it about Calvin Ellis, you know, about a black man who is the frickin' president of the United States and frickin' Superman. Like, come on. That's a way better story than just rehashing Kal-El's story again, but now he's black. Like, and to make matters worse, this was released on Henry Cavill's birthday. Today is Henry Cavill's birthday. Now, in the past, I would say that this is a total coincidence. Now, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's actually really funny. There's an ad right here for this whey protein, and Henry Cavill is the spokesperson for this. I think my computer's listening to me. Anyway, I'm being spied on. But anyway, so yeah, it's Henry Cavill's birthday today. Oh my god, I just said his name and the ad just popped. But anyway, yeah, so it's Henry Cavill's birthday today, and this story just happens to release the same day. Like, you know, if so many other things hadn't happened, like if Warner Brothers hadn't released the Snyder Cut but then done everything in their power to downplay it, like it got leaked somehow like a week before the movie came out. They tried to like stifle the hype. They refused to reveal the numbers until the viewership numbers until just a few days ago. You know, all this seems like they just are trying really hard to fight against the Snyder Cut, and it's just, you know, and all the fans of Snyder, they just hate Snyder. Oh yeah, another thing, Zack Snyder wanted to put Jon Stewart in the Snyder Cut as like a cameo, and they wouldn't let him. Yeah, another actor / character of color that they pushed to the wayside. It's so obvious what Warner Brothers is doing here, and I didn't kind of want to see it at first, but they just keep stacking one on the other. It's just so obvious. Like, I'm honestly just waiting for AT&T and Warner Media to do something, because the leadership at Warner Brothers Pictures has just showed themselves time and again to be petty, vindictive, self-righteous, self-centered, just completely, you know, they treat their actors, some of their directors, and some of their fans like garbage, just to almost like prove their own point. Like with Snyder, like it's like they had to have a personal vendetta against Snyder, and they got butthurt that fans wanted his work, and they didn't want to admit that they fucked up his movie. Like, that's just so petty, and I really hope that soon Warner Media, which is like the parent company, and they control HBO Max, I really hope that, you know, they do something about these. You know, I'm sure a lot of them are under a contract, but, you know, it almost seems like there's, you know, Warner Media, who seems to actually like Snyder and his work and care about what the fans and what they want, and then there's, you know, this mean, ugly ogre in the form of Warner Brothers Pictures just standing there, you know, making sure nothing good happens. So I'm just so sick of all this at this point. It's just so obvious how, you know, like Warner Brothers is just treating people like they're fans, like they're the enemies, you know. Like Disney, Marvel, for all their faults, it's mostly Disney. They give the fans what they want, you know? They love their fans. It's so obvious. Warner Brothers doesn't seem to, at least Warner Brothers Pictures. All that to say, I'm just tired of Warner Brothers and their bullshit, you know? Fuck Ian Sarnoff, Warner Brothers, fuck John Berg, fuck Walter Hamada, fuck Joss Whedon. Like, I'm just fucking done.